Omoyele Sowore, was transferred to Kuje Prison shortly after being granted bail by the Kuje Magistrate Court in Abuja on Friday. On Friday, Sowore, along with 12 others, appeared in court where he was granted bail set at 500,000 naira, along with 2 sureties. While his legal team was finalizing the bail process, Sowore was unexpectedly rearrested and moved to Kuje Prison. In response, Force Public Relations Officer Benjamin Hundeyin clarified that the police acted within the law during the rearrest and transfer, assuring that all procedures were followed appropriately. The Executive Director, Rule of Law and Accountability Advocacy Center, Okechukwu Nwanguma, joins us now to interrogate the actions and response of the Nigerian police in the rearrest of Omoyele Sowore. You're welcome. Could you unmute, please? We can't hear you.
Yes, I am unmuted, actually.
All right, thank you. So let's get right into business, this situation. Omoyele Sowore was granted bail by the Kuje Magistrate Court, but his rearrest and transfer to Kuje Prison occurred just soon after. As an advocate for the rule of law, what is your assessment of this development?
What happened at the Kuje Prison on Friday was nothing less than brigandage, brigandage, law enforcement brigandage. Because the moment Sowore was charged to court by the police has no more business with the process. If he had been granted bail and if he was not able to fulfill his bail condition, it was no longer the business of the police. The court has their own officials that would handle that, along in conjunction with the prison officials. So what the police did was clearly, a case of vendetta. Of course, you know that for some time, Sowore has been, accusing the IGP of, occupying an illegal office, and whereas this matter is already pending in court, we were expecting that the police will allow the courts to handle this. But for them to have interfered with the court process after they had charged him to court, and he had been granted bail, and the bail process was being processed, the conditions, the bail terms were being processed, the police had no more, business. To have come to rearrest him and take him to prison was clearly a case of an abuse of the process. It's clearly, in furtherance of the vengeance that the police have been pursuing against him for insisting that the IGP is occupying an illegal office. It was an abuse of the process. The courts, remember that the first PRO had said that what they were doing was in line with fairness. Now the courts granted freedom to Sowore and the police took that freedom away. It was nothing less than brigandage.
All right, so the Nigerian Police Force is saying that they acted well within the law, but many believe that it was an action that undermined the court authorities. What do you think about this?
Absolutely. Like I said already, once the police charges a suspect to court, the police has, and that suspect has been granted bail by the courts, the police has no more business with that process. So what the police did is not in line with any legal process. What they did was unconstitutional, was illegal, was a violation of the sanctity of the judiciary, a violation of judicial process. It was a clear case of brigandage, like I said. It was not justifiable under the law or morality. It was vengeance that they were pursuing. And I think that this calls for accountability at the highest level.
All right, so in situations like this particular situation that we have now, where there is perceived abuse of legal procedures, what actions can civil society organizations like RULAAC take to hold authorities accountable and safeguard human rights?
We have called for the immediate release of Omoyele Sowore from unlawful custody. We have called for accountability the president himself has been, an advocate of the rule of law. He has been involved in the, struggle for the restoration of democracy. And I think that as also the chairman of the police council, which has oversight powers over the Nigerian police, the president needs to call the Inspector General of Police to account for this act of desecration, this abuse of due process, abuse of the rule of law. The president must call the IGP to account for abusing his powers, and all the police officers involved in that illegal act of brigandage must be called to account. And there must be, the police must commit to not allowing this to happen anymore. The police must operate like a police of democracy, not an authoritarian police that still behaves like a colonial police, that protects power rather than protect the people.
All right, so still talking about abuse of the rule of law. Now, Sowore is just one out of several cases. What steps need to be taken to ensure that this type of incident does not repeat itself?
So you see that what the police have done is a setback to all the efforts that are being made to reform, efforts at police reform. So it calls for, renewed commitment on the part of the president to commit to ensuring that police reform works. And police reform cannot work when things like this happen and there is no consequence for that. The president must demonstrate that he's genuinely committed to police reform by ensuring that there is consequence for what has happened, that the Inspector General of Police must explain what happened, must account for it. The police officer responsible must be brought to account. And there must be a commitment on the part of the president that this kind of abuse of process does not happen again. The Police Service Commission also has a role to play. The National Human Rights Commission has a role to play by investigating what happened and making recommendations for appropriate actions to ensure accountability and redress, and to ensure that the necessary reforms take roots. These kind of things make it difficult for reform to happen, and the president has the ultimate responsibility to ensure that there's accountability and that it doesn't happen anymore.
All right, so what steps would you advise Sowore's legal team to take in response to this latest development? Is there any legal recourse that could be pursued to challenge this rearrest or demand accountability?
So I'm sure that Sowore's legal team is already on top of this. They must do everything to ensure that Sowore is released, but they must also challenge this action, because the police is claiming that what they have done is within the law. So Sowore's legal team, and not just, this is beyond Sowore's legal team, the Nigerian Bar Association must rise up to the occasion to challenge this desecration. I mean, remember that Sowore was arrested at the premises of the High Court, and then he was rearrested at the magistrate court. This is an invasion of this frequent invasion of court premises by the police must be challenged. It cannot be allowed to stand. The Nigerian Bar Association must take steps to ensure that the courts make a definitive statement about this misconduct by the police and that it doesn't happen anymore. And there must be accountability for what has happened so that there will be deterrence.
All right, thank you very much. That was Okechukwu Nwanguma giving his opinions and his views on the Sowore's rearrest, and he's demanding accountability from the police. Thank you so much for joining us.